Hi everyone, welcome to Muggles and Mocha, our Harry Potter book club where we're going to be covering Chapter 9, The Midnight Duel and Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It's so good to talk to you guys. Honestly, this is my favorite part of the week because it's just me kind of talking to myself about Harry Potter, so says a lot about me. But yeah, anyway, this has been just such a joy. I really like it, and I hope you guys do too. Last week we talked about Severus Snape. I will put that article down here in the comments. My mind is still spinning. Goodness. And actually, at the time of recording, I released it yesterday, and a couple of you have already put some really cool comments on the video. And I really appreciate it. I haven't gotten the chance to look through them yet, but I'm glad that you have so many thoughts on Severus Snape. I mean, don't we all? If you're new here, first of all, welcome. This is a Harry Potter book club connected to my editing website, MadisonKdarby.com. I write articles every week, make videos. I'll put this week's article down in the description today. And if you enjoy, please like and subscribe. Tell your Harry Potter friends about it. And a lot of us are still kind of holed up during this quarantine period. The country's starting to open up, but it's good to have something we can talk about with our friends during this time. So yeah, get the news out about Harry Potter and how fun it is to talk about in Muggles and Mocha. Okay, to start in this chapter, we have a little bit of a rant from Harry, or the narrator, about Draco Malfoy, that he's so bad that he hates him almost as much as Dudley. More than Dudley. And Draco Malfoy. Alright, this is what my article is on this week. Like I said, you can click down there to read that. And it's a little bit about Draco Malfoy. I know we already talked about a interesting character in Severus Snape, but Malfoy, I had to talk about him too, just because he's such a strong presence in this book series, someone who kind of changes over time and is just interesting to look at. So I won't go into him too much in this video because I talked about him there, but yeah, check that out. And oh, I almost forgot, I've got my mug today. It is hot, so I'm having to like turn it around. This is what it looks like. I don't speak French, so I don't know what it says, but my sister-in-law gave it to me when she asked me to be in her wedding. So shout out to Ashton for this awesome mug. It's one of my favorite ones that I use. And I also have the rant stick. This is my wand that chose me at Universal Studios, and I pick it up when I just get really passionate. So yeah, get ready for it. And then as we go into this chapter, we learn about flying lessons. Yay! This is such a huge element of the Harry Potter books because everyone pays attention to Harry, you know, when he first gets to school and throughout his whole life. It's a little annoying because of something he can't remember, and a huge moment that defined his life that happened when he was a baby killed his parents. Like, it's just a very complex situation for an 11-year-old to have to go through. So it's really cool that he gets to find this thing that he is so good at. And we'll get into that a little bit more later in the chapter when he first flies on a broom. But I just love that Harry has something that he's just so passionate about that's not killing Voldemort. You know what I mean? Like, he's a kid and he has things that he enjoys that make him who he is. And I want to ask y'all really quick, because I'm listening to this podcast. It's called Potterless by Mike Schubert. I don't know if some of you have heard of it. And it's about a grown man reading the Harry Potter series for the first time. I think he's about 25 when he starts it. And he goes in kind of not knowing much about the Harry Potter series and wanting to pick it apart and make fun of it. And at the point I am, I think he actually likes it now. But one thing he does not like is Quidditch. Wow, I've never heard someone not like Quidditch so much. He's a big sports guy and just thinks it doesn't make sense as a sport. And I kind of like, I see where he's coming from. I think the angry passion about it can be a little too far about a fictional sport. But he does have some points about, getting 150 points when you catch the snitch. Like, what does the rest of the team really even matter? I mean, you have the match in the fourth with Victor Crumb catching the snitch and them still losing, but like, what are the chances of that actually happening? I don't know. He goes on and on about it. And honestly, I don't really have much of an opinion on it. But what do you guys think? Have you ever had any problems with Quidditch? For me, I've just more so liked it because it's a little bit of a break from the bad things that go on in Harry's life and just having to like struggle through school and through what everyone thinks of him. And so it's kind of like a little release, not just for him but for us, where we can see him having fun and being a kid and being part of a team. And I like it because of that. But have y'all ever thought about the sport in general? What do you think about it? Do you think the rules are dumb? I don't know. Just let me know in the comments. Okay, so they're getting ready for flying lessons. Everybody's scared, kind of. I mean, you've got a mixture of excitement and scared. You've got like Neville and Hermione, and then like Ron and Harry, and then Malfoy, who just has to brag about himself all the time so he can hear his own voice and let everyone know how great he is at something. So you have that. But I think I would be really excited. Flying on a broom, like, gosh, how is everyone not just like freaking out right now? My mom got me a Nimbus 2000 when I was younger. There was a guy in our county who would make brooms, the old-fashioned way, I guess. I don't know, they were really nice brooms. And he made one that looked like a Harry Potter broom, called it the Nimbus 2000. Very fun. Then they go outside, they start the lesson. Poor Neville, his fears are realized. He falls off the broom. And actually his accident is way shorter in the book than it is in the movie. They made it like a whole flying sequence, but in the book he just like goes really high and then falls, which would be just terrible, and breaks his wrist. And then of course we got Malfoy. Gotta start being the worst. I have to go into Malfoy just a little bit. Like, to me, Malfoy isn't your normal bully, especially with him being 11 years old. Like, that's young. The innocence is still there for most kids. But all of his insults just immediately go for the jugular. Like, talking about how Harry's parents are dead, how Ron is poor, how his parents have too many kids than they can afford. In the second book, you have him going after Hermione's like blood status, which will be a whole other issue that we'll get into. But yeah, he is very mean. That's such an understatement. Meaner than your average bully, because he just seems to have like no care at all for others' feelings. Which in the article, I talk about how his past and his childhood plays a huge role in that. I mean, have you met Lucius Malfoy? He's awful. he's worse. And Draco grew up his whole life wishing that opposite, wishing that Voldemort had succeeded in like cleansing the magical world of Muggles and like having pure bloods be the top notch. It's just, I mean, he grew up hearing that his entire life, and it's kind of hard, I think, to get away from that, especially when you just think that you are better than everyone else. And I feel like his downfall and the struggles that he goes through later on are from this like constant seeking of power over all others. Like, he's always looking for the ways to hold that power, and that's why Harry's such a threat. Like, Harry he does something that he can't remember at all, and everyone is just in awe of him. And then Malfoy wants people to treat him with that same respect, and thinks that through doing that he has to like step on the little guy or any guy and just seize power with both hands. But like, isn't that the downfall of almost all of our antagonists in this book? Especially I'm thinking Voldemort. He was all about a lust for life, living forever, being the most powerful, and even Voldemort as a kid in the orphanage, using his magical abilities to obtain power over others and make them feel like they were weaker than him. Wow, such a theme. Then we have Malfoy bait Harry, stealing the Rememberall. Stealing the Rememberall. Gosh, That's a hard word. This is such a funny magical object. So Malfoy flies into the air with the Remember-all. The Remember-all. I'm not saying that word anymore, okay? Thankfully, I won't have to say it much longer. And Harry's reaction at this part. We talked about the Hogwarts houses a couple of weeks ago. And as I was thinking about Harry, I was thinking, yeah, he's brave, but I think he does have a lot of qualities, especially like you see him in the first book. He's young, he's precocious, he has a lot going on. His personality is still forming for the most part. And I feel like this in the book is his first like Gryffindor moment. Like he just gets on that broom and goes after Malfoy. It's reckless, it's brave, it's sticking up for others. Like good Gryffindor moment for Harry. And I think one of the reasons that I have struggled with viewing Harry as like a real strong Gryffindor is because Daniel Radcliffe, around like the third and fourth movies, I think he kind of took Harry in a different direction than the way I see him in the books, which, everyone's got their own interpretation. And I think that Daniel Radcliffe did a fantastic job playing Harry in the movies. But Harry, I think, has like a little bit of a softer personality in the movies through Daniel Radcliffe than in the book. Of course, like I said, I'm listening to this podcast where Mike Schubert in Potterless is reading through the Order of the Phoenix. So I'm like in the middle of angsty Harry, and he's just mad all the time. And I think that might be why I'm thinking that right now. But yeah, I think that Harry Potter in the books is very different, especially in the later books than in the movies. And it's just a bit more passionate, I guess would be the right word. That's how I see it. What do you think? Let me know. So Harry starts flying, and it is such a gift for Harry. Like I said, he's found something that he loves and he's good at that, almost feels like he's earned. I think that when he thinks back on the attack and Voldemort killing his parents, everyone holds him in such high esteem, and he's like, I don't deserve this. Like, I didn't do anything. I don't remember. And, so it kind of feels like he's just going through life with everyone staring at him for something that might not be earned, like he didn't really play a part in, he feels like. But then this is the opposite of that, as we see, this plays such a huge part in Harry's Hogwarts experience and is a big, element of who he is. And I really loved, this is a line from this chapter when he first kicks off from the ground. And it says, in a rush of fierce joy, he realized he had found something he could do without being taught. And especially for any kid who's trying to grasp who he is, how he belongs in this new world, it's so wonderful to find something that he's good at, that he feels like he can just cling on to as we go through the book. So McGonagall sees him make this amazing catch. Harry's not even scared. I was a little surprised reading this part because it really is a dive, and he just goes for it. Also just shows how natural he is at the sport. But he thinks he's in trouble. McGonagall takes him to Oliver Wood. And I always laugh when she asks Professor Flitwick if she can borrow wood. And it's a name, but Harry is wondering if it's a cane she's going to hit him with. So I watched the first movie before I read the first book. I was really young. The movie kind of scared me a little bit. That's how young I was. And when she went to, I think it's Professor Quirrell in the movie, and asks to borrow wood, I thought the same thing. I was like, holy cow. So I always laugh at that because me and Harry were on the same wavelength. I thought he was about to get beat by Professor McGonagall. But no, he finds out he is going to be on the Gryffindor Quidditch team as the Seeker, which is awesome. I love how Professor McGonagall is so passionate about winning and Quidditch. And she kind of brings up her rivalry with Snape, that she couldn't even look him in the eye. And I don't think we get to see that part of Professor McGonagall very much. We see her as the severe teacher, but when it comes down to it, she has a fire in her soul for Gryffindor and for taking down Slytherin, and it's just really cool. All right, then we have the challenge, a duel, a wizard duel. So cute. Can you imagine if this duel would have actually gone down with these two 11-year-olds? It would have been terrible. Like, has Harry even learned anything at this point? What would they cast at each other? I don't know. It just would have been bad. So they decide they are going to fight Draco. It's Harry's big moment when he feels he can kind of get back at Malfoy, because Malfoy has just been picking at him and picking at him and picking at everyone. Neville, who hasn't done anything to warrant it, you know. So I guess they think they're gonna die. I love when he asks Ron, like, what does it mean for you to be my second? It's like, oh, I'm just there in case you die. So they are fully prepared to face off against Malfoy. And they head down as the clock ticks closer, and Hermione is there. And she tries to stop them, gets locked out, and then you've got Neville. Okay, I forgot that Neville was there. I really did. When they tripped over him, I was like, oh yeah, he's at this scene. Because the scene in the movie is so different. Side note, I watched the first movie about a week ago, actually, because I have 3 young brothers-in-law, and they just finished the first Harry Potter book. How exciting is that? Like, man. I'm so happy. Sometimes I go up and I listen to them read it before bed, and it's magical. I love reliving my childhood. But yeah, we watched the movies, and it was so funny, y'all, because they would point out when something was different in the movie. They were like, wait, this isn't how it happened, and we're getting all indignant, and yes, get mad about the differences between the movies and the books. But yeah, this is one of the biggest differences, I think, in this first book. Just the way this is all changed. Like, they just stumble upon it in the movie, whatever. And also, something else I thought was funny is the dynamic between the trio in this part of the book. I'm actually writing an article about Harry, Ron, and Hermione becoming friends, and then how that friendship and their first encounter with a troll, those same principles that were there in that scene follow them in their friendship throughout the rest of the books. So it'll be pretty fun. You should check it out whenever I release it. But then we find that Malfoy hasn't even shown up, and instead he tattled on Harry. Oh gosh, some of you are gonna get mad about what I'm about to say, but what a Slytherin thing to do. I mean, I don't mean that like terribly. It's a cunning thing. It's sly. It's just, it just makes me really not like Malfoy. He's annoying, y'all. Read the article. I talk about him a little more. I'm trying to be a little more sympathetic toward him in that article than I am now, but naturally, I just don't enjoy him. And Filch and Mrs. Norris are there. What a pair, you know, like, I think it's cool that J.K. Rowling put them in the books. And something interesting that I found through research is that Mrs. Norris is literally just a regular cat. I was kind of wondering if she had some sort of kind of magical qualities. It came out after Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban that Crookshanks actually has some Kneasel in the ancestry. I don't know, but a Kneasel, you know, is a magical cat. And so that's why Crookshanks is so intelligent and acts the way that cat does in the Harry Potter books. But Mrs. Norris, she's just a mean cat with a strong attachment to Filch. So, in case you were wondering, no, Mrs. Norris, you know, she can tell when people are breaking rules. She's just a cat. No magical abilities at all. Which actually kind of fits with Filch when you think about it. I'm not meaning that in a bad way. We found out that Filch is a squib. So I think it fits that he has a cat with enhanced abilities that are just natural, you know, that aren't brought about through magic either. Kind of cool. So we've got this scene where the group is just running through Hogwarts. They pass Peeves once again. Wish Peeves was in the movies, but here we are. He is in some of the video games. I do remember him in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the video game, on the PlayStation 2. What a good console. And then we realize what is through the door on the third floor corridor. And it's Fluffy. Big surprise. And the group narrowly escapes, gets back to Gryffindor Tower. They don't really say anything the whole way because they're running for their lives. And this is when Harry realizes that this dog is guarding something, and it solidifies his idea that maybe it is whatever was in Vault 713, the Sorcerer's Stone, putting all the pieces together. Can I just say something about Fluffy really quick? And this is just me like throwing out thoughts, all right? So, I thought this when I was watching the movie the other day. You know, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, later in the book, when they go after Quirrell, I think it's Snape, but, you know, they're going after whoever is seeking the Sorcerer's Stone. And then Harry gets to the Mirror of Erised. I feel like the Mirror of Erised was such a good barrier. Like, no one would ever have been able to get the stone that was evil, I don't think. Maybe Voldemort could have figured out how to break that charm or whatever's on the mirror. But I think that is just such a fantastic way to hide the stone. I mean, literally, you look in the mirror, and unless you're wanting to get it and not use it, which who would be breaking in besides Harry? You know, they're trying to protect it. But if you were seeking the stone, who on earth would be breaking in for it and be like, well, I don't want to use it in any way? You know, like, it wouldn't apply to anyone who was wanting to steal it for nefarious purposes. So why the heck do they need all those other tests? I don't know, I just feel like they overdo it a little bit, because then you get to the Mirror of Erised, and I feel like whoever it would be would just be like, all right, well, I'm stuck. You know, how would they actually have gotten the stone? Could he have just put the mirror down there and it been fine? I don't know. I mean, I know, like, if we didn't have the others, we wouldn't have as good of a story. And maybe it's to detain people so that they'll find them. I wonder if they checked those traps a lot. I hope so. You know, I guess maybe it's so that you can catch them, because if they were just down there with a mirror, there wouldn't be anything to just stop them from being standing there. I don't know. I just think maybe they didn't need so many different tests to get there when the final test was just like broken. You know what I mean? So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Am I just picking it apart? Maybe. But that's why I'm here. Just talking about the books, you know? Then we have the last paragraph of this chapter. It reads, but Hermione had given Harry something else to think about as he climbed back into bed. The dog was guarding something. What had Hagrid said? Gringotts was the safest place in the world for something you wanted to hide, except perhaps Hogwarts. It looked as though Harry had found out where the grubby little package from Vault 713 was. There we go. And the next chapter is Halloween, where we get the troll coming in, the troll in the dungeon scene. Oh man, it's gonna be fun. And I'm excited to talk about it with you guys. But until then, thank you so much for joining us today. I love doing this with you guys. Please let me know if you have any questions, or if there's a topic that you would like to hear about in one of the future chapters for the articles. Let me know and I'll write one about it, because I love putting those articles together, y'all. So next week we'll be talking about chapter 10. Maybe I'll wear something Halloween themed. I've always wanted to go to Hogwarts during the holidays, you know, if Hogwarts was real. But yeah, join us here on Muggles and Mocha next week. I'm excited to talk about it with you guys.